Hey guys, I'm Mike Mertes and you're watching Gamer Logic, and you're probably wondering, why aren't I on camera? And maybe you're happy I'm not on camera. But why I am not on camera is because what is in front of your eyes right now is the subject of this video, and this is original artwork from Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. This comes directly from the artist, signed by the artist, given to me by the artist, and I actually got this back in March, April, maybe sooner, and I've never really had the opportunity to tell the story about how I ended up getting this, and actually how I ended up getting two pieces of this artwork, and I figured I would finally sit down and do so. So this is my story about how I got an original artwork print of this Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse artwork. You know, as a young boy, I always had an appreciation for video game art, and I still do to this day. And I'm not just talking about the pixelated characters, the stage design. I'm talking about the first thing you usually got introduced to artwork-wise back in the 80s and in the early 90s. Maybe at a Best Buy, a Walmart, or in my case, I got a lot of my video games from a rental store. So my very first basis, my very first thought on what a particular game would be its front box artwork. Man, I can't tell you how many times I would go to the video store, pull a game off the shelf, pull a box off the shelf, look at its title, look at its box art, and totally just start imagining what the game is about. And then I'd flip that box to the other side and I'd look at the screenshots, and sometimes it'd be way off, or sometimes it would be completely accurate. And sometimes even if the screenshots looked accurate and you got the game home, it wasn't exactly what you thought it was. Sometimes it was a disappointment, sometimes it was better. But there are certain pieces of video game art back from those days that totally blow my mind, and I really have an appreciation for. And it's no shocker that it's probably a lot of Castlevania artwork because it's one of my favorite franchises. But that being the case, yes, Castlevania does have some of my favorite artwork for box covers for it. I mean, it's so striking. Vampires, heroes, monsters. It's definitely artwork that is set correctly for the game itself, with the exception of the North American art for Symphony of the Night, which is just god-awful. But for the most part, the artwork is always accurate. So a couple months back, probably like March or April, I decided to start doing some research on the artists behind some of this video game artwork from the 80s and the 90s. And you find out where a lot of inspirations come from, but sadly, you don't find out who the original artists are for this stuff. And my first search was for the very first Castlevania here, for the artwork for that. Who did this artwork? Even after all of my searching, I was unable to find out. So through a couple of different websites, through checking out some sites, I actually found out who did the artwork for this terrific art here for Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. And I'm scrolling through the site, and I bring up the site, and there was a full picture of the artwork. It is entirely amazing how much artwork that Konami cut out on the sides because of their weird letterboxing stuff. So here I am, I'm scrolling through this website, I see a full picture of this artwork, and it blows my mind. I click on it, I see all the details, I see everything, and I go, oh my god, I would love to get a print of that. So I did some more research, I emailed a couple people, and eventually, long story short, I found out who did this terrific artwork. And it turns out that it is Tom Dubai. And it may be Dubais. Unfortunately, it's a last name that I've seen that has had several different pronunciations for it. So if I am butchering your last name, Tom, I'm so sorry, but I'm just gonna call him Tom for now, so I don't disrespect his last name anymore. But basically, I found out who did the artwork, I got his email address, and I emailed Tom. And I basically just kind of gushed about the artwork, you know, telling him the first time I saw this artwork was at a video store. I was so excited, I grabbed it, and I just absorbed the artwork. Trevor Belmont, the skeleton, Grant, Sifa with her fire burning the dragon, and you know, that ride home from the video store. I'm imagining all this stuff, and I'm imagining all these colors, and I have to, because at home my NES is connected to a small 13-inch black and white TV. That's right. The first time I played a lot of games, I played them in black and white, so sometimes the cover box art was the only way, my only way of imagining color in these games. And when I eventually did get to play Castlevania 3 a couple months later on a color TV, well, I was amazed at just how accurate that artwork was. So I sent my email. I didn't expect much, but all of a sudden I got a reply and we started talking, and let me just say, what a nice guy. He was totally open with me, gave me a lot of back and forth with the history of his business with Konami, as well as, nothing really confidential. I don't want to say that he was giving me like confidential information, but really just how the business was handled back then. And unfortunately, he did artwork for a lot of great Konami games and other game studios and other game companies and never got his artwork back. So as we were going through and we were discussing stuff, I kind of put it out there that I was really wondering if by any chance he still had the original artwork for Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. And sure enough, he did. And we made some arrangements, and I am now the proud owner of a framed piece of original video game art that a lot of people have just never seen the whole picture of. And that's such a damn shame, because there's so many great artists out there that their artwork is going to be lost to time because no one's keeping this stuff. It's up to us to do that. So on my wall, I have this terrific piece of art, but due to an issue with the printing company, well, I actually got a second piece. It's even bigger than the first, so why don't we take a quick tour through that artwork. And before we do that, I just want to take the time to say, Tom, thanks so much for just one, replying back to me, and two, letting me own this wonderful art. I will always cherish this, and all the great memories of the game and the artwork is now basically immortalized on my wall. Thank you very much, and let's take a look at this terrific artwork from Tom. Here we go. This is the larger artwork print that Tom sent me, which was amazing of him to do. He very well could have just kept this, did whatever he wanted to do with it, but he was so nice, so super nice, to send me 2 copies of this. And eventually, depending on where I end up in my career currently, this will go up on a wall somewhere, but for now, the smaller guy sits up in my game room / office. And I am just absolutely impressed by the full-scale art of this. So let's get a little zoom in action here. Hopefully the camera really captures the detail, but look at the detail of those goddamn bats. I love it. The castle in the background I always loved. I always loved this cemetery, this creepy ass cemetery in the background with the angel statue in the fog. Of course, you got Grant back here fighting what seems to be an owl or an eagle. It really captured the look of Grant there, which is awesome. And then, of course, we come down and we got Sypha, burning the dragon with her fire. And for me, my favorite part, Trevor Belmont, Ralph Belmont, if you're playing the Famicom version, fighting one of the most iconic enemies other than Dracula in a Castlevania game, and that's the skeletons. Bone and all in his hand, Trevor fighting him with his whip. And you know what's interesting? Seeing this in its full scale, I always assumed that this was Trevor Belmont going down a flight of stairs. But it seems, if you really pay attention now to the artwork, you can see the gears. He is in the clock tower fighting the skeleton, which makes total sense. So he's on a clock tower gear, which is really cool. And then, of course, we have his signature hair, which is really awesome. Again, Tom, thank you so much for doing this. And on the other piece of artwork, you can't see it unfortunately, but on the back, he signed it for me, dated it for this year and everything, and he put, to my friend Mike Mertes, Master of the Killer Whip, which was really awesome of him. So again, that's kind of my story about how I got this tremendous artwork. And man, I have a lot of great pieces in this room. I really do. I have a lot of great games. I have a lot of great artwork. There's so much great stuff in here that I obviously cherish. But as far as favorites go, that's way up there, because Castlevania 3 is a game that I played the crap out of. during my childhood and still play on a yearly basis every year. Thanks again, Tom, and thanks again to everyone who watched. Have a good one.